part about this whole thing that's going on with Sammy and Michael is there's a big community that doesn't want to see this go live.
Oh, I'm sure there's people that do not want this to happen.
I mean,
right?
the emails and the calls we're getting, there's a big community that's not happy about this. The DMs privately coming to us. There is a massive community that does not want to see this thing take place.
Well,
a massive
Would
community.
you share who this community
Well,
is?
I can't do. Of course,
The
I cannot.
types of people.
I can't even tell you, like
Wow.
but it's connected to that life. But there's a big community
he's
that doesn't
getting
want to see
threats,
this
boy.
become live because, hey,
Old Pat but David getting threats from the mob.
you're telling a story to men who have experience in this, and Michael's dad wasn't just any man. He was Sonny Franzese.
Sonny Franzese.
55 years time in prison. One of the most feared men in the streets of New York, in the streets of America. He claims to have been with everybody. And this is not a guy that brags about it. One day I was in New York driving him around. We spent a whole day together. I was trying to get him to do an interview. Wouldn't open up nothing. That guy wouldn't say anything. That's Michael. That's who trained Michael. So think about who trained Michael is Sonny. Sonny comes from the era of Lucky, Meyer, Costello. 104 years old means you were 20 years old in 1940.
Yeah, that's not.
So
that's,
just think
that's
about that.
hard
You're 20 years
That's-
old in the 30s.
Hold on, how old is he?
He died at 104 years old, 103 years old.
103.
So
How
that
long
means
ago?
he died a year and a half ago.
Wow.
So he
Took everything to the grave.
He took everything to the grave, wouldn't say anything. I drove him. I said, hey, tell me about Meyer Lansky. Is it true he was a billionaire? He was the richest man? He says, Meyer was a great man. I said, how about Lucky? How about Ben Siegel? He said, how about Bugsy? What do you think? I said, don't call him Bugsy. You can't call him Bugsy. You cannot call him Bugsy. His name is Ben. You call him Ben Siegel. I said, how about Ben Siegel? He says, Ben Siegel, one of the best men I ever did business with. I said, are you kidding me? Sonny, the stories you read about Ben Siegel, what he did, great man. I said, Sonny, how about your story? A lot of people say you took a lot of people out. They say you were one of the most feared men in the streets. I was innocent. It's just like going. So, and then on Sammy's side, Sammy's bringing history. Sammy's still loyal to the life. He still is a gangster. Like Sammy's still today. He may be free.
He's still a snitch.
But Sammy is not Michael, who was a changed man. So there is two different worlds colliding. And there's communities on both sides that don't want the sit-down to take place.
Well, I would tell you that
Yeah.
one of my concerns going into it was I kind of grew up in that environment, and my father hated the mob. My God, he hated them. He thought these guys were bullies and all this other stuff. And I was just look. This to me is interesting. These are very, very interesting guys. This is we have to document. This isn't a part of American history. It's going away.
Yep.
We have to document
Straight up.
this, right? This is something that these are stories
Not
that
that I'm
need to be
American
told.
or
This is
anything,
part
so
of the
I don't
fabric
really know, but-
of our society. This is something that made us who we are. But I didn't want to glorify the crime. I didn't want to do this.
You
as
don't
like,
romanticize
First of
all
all,
of
I
that.
didn't wanna
because
do this.
Rudy does not.
Well, this is what I was going to say.
Yeah.
The thing probably you did better than anything else in producing this and hosting it. You pressed these guys. This was not a puff piece by any chance. You pressed these dudes on every step of the way. Every kind of excuse they gave you, you pressed back, you pushed back. Why didn't you just go legit? Obviously, this model works. You should have went legit.
This is a different kind of an interview. It's a very technical interview because you would ask a question, we would go a little deeper, and then they went. And they went.
Which is awesome.
And we're sitting on extracting the best part to put it in the jars. On a great job putting that together. Anyways, I cannot wait for the world to see this when this premieres in the next 4, 6, 8 weeks. And by the way, people who are upset about it.
Hold on. So you seen earlier it was 4 to 6 weeks. I'm sure that's what you said. And now it's 4, 6 to 8 weeks. I reckon by the end of this we're going 10 to 12 weeks.
Listen, we can put it somewhere else and charge you $100 if you're upset about it. We can come out, or we can do it the right way. And by the
Because
way,
this is all going on YouTube.
Here's a question for you. Do you think a Netflix, a Hulu, and Amazon wants the rights to this? 30 hours of
1000%.
footage?
You kidding me?
They'll cut a multi-million-dollar check easily. We don't need the money for this. This is something I want the world to see. I want the world to see this. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with this. We're going to own the rights to this for as long as Valuetainment can hold the rights to this. I mean, this is going to be the first biggest project where we put a good amount of money into it. Have $500,000 at this point. Into to make this happen.
This
I'm
is the
excited
biggest
to release
project
it.
in Valuetainment history.
It's
yeah?
in the
stuff,
history
man.
ever.
Big
It's not even
stuff.
close.
But
Kudos to you
this
guys.
is creating history. I mean, it's
Yeah.
nuts, and that the production value. Look, we're working hard on it, man, but I think the people are gonna love it. I really do. think
Yeah,
people are gonna
it's
good.
Last thing before we move on, I'm just talking about the teaser that went out. It was what, a minute long? How long was it?
50 seconds, 47
Okay.
seconds.
Yeah.
Awesome, captivating.
Yeah.
Chaz comes in. This
Yeah.
is a true story. This
Yeah.
isn't
Shout out,
amazing,
Chaz.
right?
Yeah.
You're captivated, and like the first line you really hear Sammy say to Michael, and this is what I want you guys to explain, is like, "What happened to Omerta? And you fucking did this and da da da," and like. And you said Sammy's still in that life. Just explain that, the Omerta and the whole thing with
Sammy's
that, and Sonny
still a
not
gangster,
speaking.
But you got to realize, Sammy's still a gangster.
Sammy's an actor.
Sammy is still and Sammy called Michael out hardcore. I mean, Sammy called Michael out. It was a direct call out, and Michael didn't back down, and they went head to head. Like, there's certain areas, like you'll see Michael, you're like, well, Michael, just kind of is probably going to be passive in that area. Michael pushed back, and there are certain areas where Sammy is just brutal, zero filters. Again, for the people that have followed these stories, they're going to be glued to the screen, and it's very technical because in the world of the mob, it is a very technical conversation. Yet at the same time, they're both good storytellers. So you're hearing it from, two men who have been able to sit down with some of the most powerful people in the mob last however many years.
Yeah.
It's going to be.
And Pat, how many hours have you spent sitting down with the mob? I mean, at this point, you got to be some sort of made
enough
man.
where I'm somewhat qualified.
Exactly. That's what I was just gonna say.
Well, look, I don't want to sound like a salesman here, but you do have to go to Mafia States of America because you're talking about Omerta. There's going to be so many esoteric terms. That's also been an interesting part of this. Is like these terms are terms I grew up with. I just assumed everybody knew them, and then our production assistants. Like I'm talking with like one of our production assistants is like a 21-year-old Latina girl from Miami, and she's like, she thought Bensonhurst was a guy. She had no idea that was. She had no idea it was.
You gotta get out of your liberal East Coast bubble, Gerard.
She was like, I'm having her batch B-roll, and she's like, for the life of me, I can't find a picture of this Bensonhurst. I was like, Bensonhurst, Brooklyn, the part of Brooklyn?
Yeah.
Are you serious? So like, we're gonna have a glossary of terms to get brushed up on, so you know what Omerta is, you know what these places are.
We may even afterwards do behind the scenes because I think if people would want to see some of the stuff that we did behind the scenes. If we can get a behind the scenes put together, people got to see how this was behind closed doors because all the other stuff is great.
It was intense.
Yeah, it was intense. Anyway, so again, stay tuned.
Well, congratulations, guys. This was
Appreciate
awesome.
you.
It looks amazing.
6, 8 weeks, maybe 10. We're trying to get it closer to 6. Stay.
Right then. So there we have it. It started with 4 to 6 weeks. Then it went 4 to 6 to 8 weeks. Now we're at 4 to 6 to 8 to 10 weeks. So bring it on. In 4 to 6, 8 to 10 weeks.
It ain't coming out for 4 to 6 weeks.
Okay,
I can
there
say
we
that
go.
for a fact. It ain't coming out for 4 to 6 weeks. So hang in there. There's a lot of pissed off people right now on Twitter, YouTube, everywhere saying,
What are they
why
pissed
do you
off
do
about?
this to us? Why isn't it coming out tomorrow? It ain't coming out for 4 to 6
yeah,
weeks.
okay.
But this premieres in the next 4, 6, 8 weeks. Stay tuned. 4, 6, 8 weeks, maybe 10 weeks.
Shit ass.